Hey, what's going on? This is Jon. This is Jon Does. This is episode 93. Another 90s nostalgia. Sorry, I'm still trying to get this post up on Facebook here. It's just loading for some reason. Anyways, I hope you're having a good start to your week. This is Monday's episode, and it is also our 90s nostalgia episode today because I had to move some things around because I'm going to probably have some guest on Wednesday. So, that being said, Ryan's here. Ryan, how are you doing?
So far, so good, John B.
You out for a stroll, I hear.
Out for a quick stroll, yeah.
Nice. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was fine. Thanks for asking.
Did you listen to a bunch of 90s stuff?
For the past few days, I've been listening to the studio recordings of John Zorn's Naked City, which ought to qualify as some 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Snuck in a couple Beta Band listens last week. And I had another listen this afternoon, the 3 EPs.
So,
which I believe we're talking about, or going to try to talk about tonight.
Yeah. Let's just get into it. So, September 28th, 1998. That would be 10 days after my 14th birthday. I did not listen to the Beta Band when I turned 14. However, I did not. It wasn't terribly long until I discovered more of the Beta Band. I'll just start off and say I was given both of my siblings worked at the Warehouse Records back in the day, now defunct National Music Record Store chain. And my brother got in a habit of making mixtapes for me, and I got a mixtape from him at one point that was had a bunch of stuff on there, and one of the songs on there was a song called "Round the Bend," which is on the Beta Band's second. Well, it's their first actual full length.
Their debut full length.
Yeah, their debut full length. Real fun song. Loved it. Then as I got through high school, the movie High Fidelity came out. And if you're familiar, there is a famous scene in a record store where Jack Black tries to sell 5 copies of the Beta Band's 3 EPs. And he plays the first track, Dry the Rain. So I had heard that. I loved the song. I didn't do a full deep dive into Beta Band at the time. This actually is my real deep dive, but I did listen to some stuff here and there, and I always enjoyed the Beta Band. But I'll get into how I feel about my re-listen on the 3 EPs in just a little bit. But Ryan, when did you become aware of the Beta Band?
Spring of, I want to say around June of 99.
Okay.
I think. Maybe a little before. But I think it came out in the winter. And I didn't go for it. Though I knew it was kind of on the way. I knew it was out there. That band got a lot of press. And maybe a couple summers before, they had started releasing the singles. And I don't think I ever saw any of the original singles, like, in the wild. So I knew they were, out there.
And
so it was, a matter of them being compiled and distributed
Yeah,
on a single disc.
Yeah, and those, just real quick, those 3 EPs are Los Amigos del Beta Bandidos, the 3 EPs, and sorry, that was the chronological
Champion versions.
Yeah.
Patty Sound.
There we go. Sorry, Patty Sound and Los Amigos del Beta Bandidos. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing there. Just so we are aware, those are actual EPs that were combined into one single release. So, what was your first take on them?
I think I was unimpressed at the time, and that wasn't fair. I'm pretty sure I had a buddy named Nate who had just superb taste in music, but he was definitely a club guy. Definitely liked a lot of dance and electronic. And he brought that over on a trip back from the record store. And I was flipping through what he got, and I saw that it had the Astroworks label on it, which kind of meant something at the time. It was still a new label, and it was known for releasing some of the best electronic music, in my opinion. Future Sounds, London, then the Chemical Brothers, Fat Boy Slim, and that was just at around the time they had the Beta Band, or were distributing the Beta Band. So it was like, all right. So we kind of expected it to be a little pop because, I mean, especially with like Fat Boy Slim, you know?
Yeah.
And like the Chemical Brothers had moved on to like block rock and beats and, you know, members of Oasis singing over tracks, which was cool. But yeah, I guess we were expecting something poppy. We weren't expecting anything that poppy and weird, but that wasn't, you know, unheard of at the time. It was respectably weird. I think Nate was happy he got it. I probably didn't hear it again for, well, more. A bunch of friends ended up getting this album as, you know, time went on. But, like, there was this was kind of cool back in the day. You would read about something, you know, and you could go a long time without actually hearing it, you know?
Yeah.
And if you were as serious as I was, you'd try and keep a list or something, you know? And eventually, you know, you get it. I think I resented it being as poppy as it was. I thought that it was as lo-fi as it was just a ploy. Yeah. And I thought that they really wanted to be doing Beatles tunes. And we're just kind of filling up space. It was a very critical listen. For sure.
Yeah. I feel the Beatles thing a bit. You know, before we get too far away, I do want to correct myself, because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the Beta Band, I think on one of the other 90s nostalgia episodes, and
who are the Beta Bands, John B?
Yeah, my dumbass was like, yeah, aren't they from the U.S.? I know better. I knew better then. I was just, It was just one of those moments where I hadn't thought about it for a really long time. I'm like, yeah, no, they're probably from like Chicago, right? No, they are. I don't know what they were traveling as originally, if they're a 4-piece, 5-piece, whatever. But they're Scottish, and they're considered folktronica.
That one didn't really take off.
No, it really didn't. It didn't really did it. But they do a blend of folk, psychedelic, electronic music, experimental rock stuff like that. And so I don't have any context of the 3 EPs separately. I just have them. I listen to them in the full record format. So I'm only taking the context that they've given me all at once, not in the individual sense of how these EPs were structured out originally, or when they even, the assumption by hearing 3 EPs is that they had a bunch of music that they either had demoed or, previously recorded that didn't get much, either came out, over a weekend or something like that. And then I don't know when the release of all 3 of these EPs were, but I will say, oof. All right, I'm going to get into it. This record, going back to your Beatles comment, to me,
which is unfair.
It's a little
unfair comment.
It's a little unfair because
they also sound like Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Yeah,
at points.
I think using the Beatles
have the ability to mimic some great harmonies.
Yes, they do some things
from time
well.
to time.
They do some things very well, and also like not just the like harmonies between singers or anything like that, but also the fact, also their like song arrangements at times. I don't think it's totally unfair to use the Beatles as a reference there. Although I do feel like the Beatles are like that standard bearer for like certain kinds of songwriting, and there are a couple of, as you put them, we'll just loosely use the term Beatles. I think everyone can understand we're not comparing them to the Beatles.
They are consciously appropriating these wonderful moments from pop rock, dude.
Yeah.
Let's just call it that without any.
And you're not doing it right if you're not like copying somebody to a degree in any art form. Let's be real. So there are some really good moments in this. I view it as one full record, not 3 EPs, even though that's the title. There are some really great songs on here, and I would say, and just to break it up within the context of the EPs, Champion versions and Los Amigos del Beta Bandidos. Those two are probably the better parts for me. The Patty sound I felt was, the songs on there were very hard for me to continue to listen to over the course of time. Monolith particularly is a 15-minute long song, and I still don't have context for what it is. I still don't. I didn't grasp it. I do think there is a lot of things that they could have worked out prior to releasing this or any of the EPs, but I also get like this was the beginning of the band, and they had to put stuff out to be a band. But Ryan, I'm going to ask you now, like what was your take listening to this? Because so you didn't listen to them much back then. You didn't care for them much.
Because the bar for weirdness was so high.
Yeah.
And such obvious attempts at sounding pop, to me, were distasteful and not exactly worthy of my time.
Mm-hmm. Totally understandable.
There was a lot of good music coming out at the time, and the Beta Band was pretty good. People say they didn't live up to the hype. I didn't. I was distrustful of the hype to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of resented the fact that music existed that I didn't stand a chance of getting. That was the reality back then, and I was slowly coming to accept it, but wasn't quite over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, at this time, like you were saying, there was so much other stuff out there.
Man, there was this guy named DJ Spooky.
Okay.
And I don't want to say he's at all similar, but I think the Beta Band guys really liked hip hop.
Yeah.
DJ Spooky, arguably, did a form of hip hop. His stuff, you would have record album sides that were more abstract than anything you'll hear on Monolith. Where the bass line disappears, where you're not really sure what you're looking at. That whole collage method.
Yeah.
It goes back a way. I mean, you encounter the same kind of thing on some Can records.
Yeah.
Particularly Landed. I think when you find them on Pink Floyd records, old Pink Floyd records, they're golden. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Monolith was I guess that was a double 12-inch. That was a whole side.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes long. 15:48 to be exact.
I had encountered plenty of tracks by then that were, you know, certainly not on Astral Works, okay?
Yeah.
But like Future Sounds of London. I don't want to suggest they're the some of the stuff on Astral Works might have been a bit difficult to listen to for some who were expecting Beatles-esque vocals and solid guitar hooks. You know?
Yeah.
Monolith is not their most accessible song, but nothing really put me off there, you know?
Mm.
In fact, I was kind of... See, I have to beg your pardon, we were crossing the street. I was a little distracted.
Hit, please. Don't get hit, please.
I don't think any of their songs are over long. I don't think all of their songs necessarily go someplace, but like the length of their songs, that's really not an issue for me. My attention might, I don't know, waver a bit midway through Monolith. But they're trying, man, throughout it to do something that's engaging, even if it's just like riding the fader, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We should point out, this was all done on a four track. I mean, excuse me, those first two EPs were done on a 4-track in their home, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And they were super excited when they got to go and record other places for that third EP, you know, and use different instruments. But I think when they got to the Patty sound, they were trying to push that 4-track as far as they could, you know?
Yeah.
And what they were probably looking at was like, let's do a full side. Let's do a full side of tape, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they had the goods at the end of the day, you know? The bass line running through Monolith is pretty cool. You know, the drums that go in and out are pretty cool. They had a proper drummer around that day. You can hear them yelling in the background. They're all having a good time, you know? It's not perfectly cut.
I'm not going to disagree. There are good elements in these songs. I do have a bit of a problem with the length of some of the songs. And I I definitely agree with you about how some of the songs just don't go anywhere. The two really stand out awful tracks to me were Monolith. It's just so long. It meanders all over the place. And I mean, I'm not opposed to that so much. I guess it depends on where it's coming from. And Beta Band was not something I was expecting. This kind of hodgepodge of things, and but one part that really bothered me is they utilize a lot of loops, and that's cool. I love loops. I work with loops all the time. I was just a little context for the viewers out there. I played around with some people for a while, and then I left the city I was living in, and I kind of went real introverted, and instead of finding more people to play with, I bought loop pedals instead. And so I've been playing with loops for a really long time now, probably close to 20 years. And some of the stuff that they loop, particularly Intermeet Me, that title is the loop hook that they use, and it is not out of timing, but it is off timing. It comes in and it feels to me very grating against like a groove that they kind of build up around themselves, and I feel like it's just not done very well. It made the song less enjoyable and more just like, oh, do I have to finish listening? I'll be honest, listening to some of this stuff this last week, well, I guess it hasn't been a full week because, you know, it's Monday. We're doing our episode a little early this week. I found myself looking for the end of some of these songs. But I don't want to totally knock them because as I do think there is a lot of work that I personally would have cleaned up maybe. And again, we are talking about different decades. So like I'm talking about music production that I'm used to doing in the last 5-10 years to like you're talking about pushing a 4-track to its extent. There are a lot of limitations, and there's only so much you can do or could have done at the time with just a 4-track at home. There's so much more, you know, you can do with your laptop these days. You can do basically unlimited tracks until your computer crashes. And even though there are, especially there, that patty sound right there in the middle, a lot of that just was not very appealing to me. There is some really, I will say I am a Dry the Rain guy. Dry the Rain and Round the Bend are still my two favorite Beta Band tracks. I do think Dry the Rain is the superior track within the 3 EPs. And I think the Beta Band knew it too. Because in Monolith, they bring it back, but not as like a reprise. More
a reminder.
It's more of a
reminder.
It's more of a, hey, we're doing a weird jam and we need to fill some space here, so we're gonna bring in, we're gonna like DJ in our own song into this other song that we're working on, and I just didn't appreciate it very much. I'm sorry, I did not appreciate that very much, but I'm not gonna completely shit on the Beta Band all day. There's a lot of stuff that I did not like. Probably more stuff on this record than in some of the other stuff that we've listened to be honest. And I was really excited about this record because I had always kind of had a little bit of an admiration or a positive outlook on the Beta Band. That hasn't changed much for me. Although this record, I will say, is probably something I'm not going to revisit. Other than Dry the Rain. We'll probably end up on some playlists that I make. So yeah, I do have some issues with some of the stuff there. And you know, I got a little on my high horse the other day when we were talking about this. I'm going to do it again. I feel like there's some stuff that I could do better. And again, hindsight, and we have, you know, like I have different.
At this point, though, you might have been playing music longer than they
probably
were
when they recorded
at that point.
Yeah, probably
by like a lot, man.
Probably, probably. But I do like the individual artist with the what's his name? Is it Steve Mason? He's like the singer. He's got a couple other projects I didn't know about, but I'm probably gonna look up now. I had mentioned my friend Jay. I was talking to him earlier, and I'd mentioned that we were going to be talking about this today. And he mentioned that he used to be a fan of Beta Band and Steve Mason's other project, King Biscuit Time. Have you listened to King Biscuit Time at all? Do you know anything about them? Yeah, I don't either. And then I guess there was another project, Black Affair, and that was released on V2 Records. And then some solo stuff under his own name.
I was pretty dismissive of their work initially. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even I was aware of their debut, their full-length debut, their self-titled full-length debut. I didn't know they had another record out after that. I have tried to do a little reading from the time, interviews with the band, mostly, which were kind of shallow and weird, honestly. After the turn of the century, they're taken a little more seriously by the press and actually get to speak. Mm-hmm. And then as time goes on, people reach out to them to talk about the Three E.P's record. You know, and I guess a few years back there were some interviews done in honor of the 20th anniversary of that record. Mm-hmm. And, you know, none of those guys ever wanted to repeat themselves. They all went on to different stuff. It didn't seem like the Beta Band was going to be any of their lives' work, you know? Yeah. And none of them have any bitterness over it. I mean, they're glad to have the recognition, I think, that they do have. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there was a lot of other kind of retro stuff going on at the time. and the mixing of hip hop with sound collage and late 60s folk rock, it's cool, very cool. It just was not that out there at the time.
Yeah.
I can't say that anyone was doing it exactly, but like Fat Possum was remixing old blues tunes, for instance. Beth Orton was doing, I don't want to call it folktronic. I don't want to lend any credence to that term. But there was stuff out there that just was better produced, for starters, Not that I'm knocking the production at all, but time wasn't on their side, and I think a lot of what made that band so unique to its initial audiences wasn't so unique the world over, and their impact might have been a little less, I think, on listeners,
Yeah. Well, oh man, you had mentioned some other bands of the time and the era that were also doing electronica hip hoppy type thing, and I think sure, we could pinpoint each band and listen to them now. What was it, the Shaman you brought up?
Sort of in a different context, but yeah.
Sure. But they were they around the same time? Yeah, they must have been around the same time.
They were kind of on their way out by then.
Okay. I did actually listen to a couple of tracks, and you know what? I can get behind it. I can't remember exactly what tracks I listened to, but there was a couple of YouTube videos I looked up after we talked about them the other day, and I think that some of those other electronica acts that, excuse me, oh man, I put my hands above my head and then I start yawning all of a sudden. Those other acts that were doing the electronica hip hop thing and throwing in like white boy raps, as I like to call it, I do think that there was something going on in the UK scene that differentiates American white boy rap from like the UK version of rap, because I mean they've got things like Gabber and whatnot now. The kind of lyricism,
really fast, really articulate.
Yeah, and like when I think of American white boy hip hop now, it's like exactly the same as it was like 30 years ago, 25 years ago, except for less rhyming. And then that's maybe being a little bit mean, but they do some white boy rapping on both 3 EPs and on the Beta Band, their first full length. And oh man, I gotta say, the stuff on 3 EPs is cringy. It's pretty cringy. I think it's really bad. I think it's is there worse? Oh, for sure, absolutely. And I can take it. I'll pretend that in context, the time era gives them the benefit of the doubt. But even in that time period, like, everyone else was doing that better too.
Well, now some of these raps, I think there are two, are one of them is sped up at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think those raps were necessarily offered in earnest. I don't think they were about step up to Mr. C of the Shaman.
Yeah. Agreed.
Those guys did like hip hop. You know, and I can see why they would want to try that. I think they were trying to have a good time, but I mean, nah, it's not that bad. I don't think they're offering it up as anything more than an ornament.
Okay, I will say there was a lot of stuff that I don't think they accomplished very well on 3 EPs. The white boy rapping didn't work for me at all. The looping could have been a lot better. However,
that might be a live sampler.
Okay.
That might be a live sampler.
Okay.
Not that it would change the way the sample was cut, which I think is the point of contention here.
Yeah, for me it was the placement. It wasn't like it was out of sync or anything like that. It was more that it was oddly placed, because the song begins with this hook, I guess you'd call it, and it's like it's on the 2 instead of the 1, or it's on the 3, I think, instead of the 1, and everything else is on the 1, and it just didn't. Oh man, it was so off-putting to the rest of the vibe of the song. It felt like you have a ball and then one like serrated blade going the other way, and it's like, what is that blade doing there? Smooth that shit out, grind it down. That's how it felt like to me, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, sorry, I was trying to look up what what songs I listened to, but I guess it was somewhere else I listened to them. Let's see, we've got about 20 minutes left. Do you have...
Are you talking about B+A?
I don't remember.
Or are you talking about Intermeet
Me? Okay. That's the one. And that's why I say the Patty sound is the one that's the hardest for me, is because the two songs that I dislike the most sit firmly in that EP area. The house song was okay. They do some stuff okay.
The house song is pretty awesome, man.
The house song,
I think that's got some rapping.
They do some stuff okay. And here's where I'm going to start to change the tune a little bit. By the time they come out with their first full length, the Beta Band, all of these complaints that I have about like the shitty white boy rap or the loops and stuff like that, all of that has been like not perfected, but refined like a lot. So when you say that they probably sampled some stuff live and that's what we got, I buy that. The Beta Band record sounds like a record. The 3 EPs sounds like a lot of hodgepodge, which is not bad. I'm not trying to talk shit about, putting together records like that. You and I both put records together like that sometimes. I think it was refined by the next year when they put out Beta Band in 99. Ebenezer Good and Coming On. Those are the ones I got down.
Those are some bangers. Yeah.
Move Any Mountain. That was a good one too. But before that, I just want to throw this out because I have zero idea. I have zero context to this because I saw this randomly. But right before I listened to those two songs, I listened to a song from a lady named Barbara Markey called Give Your Dick to Me. I recommend that one. You should go play that one a little later. Anyways, So was there things about the Beta Band that you clearly didn't give them much credit, and I also don't blame you. Not to say that there was room for only
Not at
one
the
thing,
time.
but there was a
Not
lot
at the
of other
time.
things going on. Like the Mollusk had come out like the year before, we talked about before, and I could see myself, if I was me in 97, like me now in 97, 98, I would probably still be studying the Mollusk and not really giving a shit too much about the Beta Bands myself.
The the mollusk was there for sure, but I mean, the part of me that loves the pod and pure guava really appreciated, was almost jealous of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because I had a 4-track by that point, and I knew how difficult they were to operate and get a good sound out of.
Yeah.
As shaky as some of these tracks are, like, they're playing through songs on guitar. There are songs under all of this. I'm not sure how they went about recording Monolith. They've got solid components in there. They just never have them going at the same time.
Yeah.
But I mean, elsewhere, there's evidence that there's like good writing beneath it all, and the singing is fine.
I think that's the thing about it that
there were so many
me.
derivative. I'm sorry, there were so many derivative, bands at the time that I absolutely loved. I don't hold that against anyone.
Yeah.
At the same time, look, the Mollusk was cool, yeah, for sure. But like, oh Lord, I think TNT by Tortoise had come out. Tortoise was going strong, and they were incorporating hip hop elements into a lot of other things, and using Pro Tools. Like, they were among the first. I don't know if it was Pro Tools, but John McIntyre was one of the first guys to get on to digital recording.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people playing with these basic ideas that just had better equipment and, similar chops. We're just as good musicians, if not better. And so it did kind of come off as a little amateurish and small sounding. And oh boy,
I think
there was.
Sorry.
At the time, there was a record called 69 Love Songs by, the guy's name is Stephen Merritt. 69 Love Songs is by the Magnetic Fields, which is Stephen Merritt.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff he recorded himself, and it's got the reach the Beta Band wants. It's got the reach any good 90s project wants. 69 Love Songs. Each one different. Its own little thing. It's 3 discs long. That's context. The 15-minute abstract piece was nothing. We had cats writing records that were 3 discs long.
Yeah, yeah.
I was a fan, still am, of like hard ambient. Get a little bag of marbles and a bowl and a mic and a reverb pedal. That's all you need to make a record.
Yeah. I think that's something that irritated me about the listen through on this, is there is some really great songwriting stuff, and you touched on about how there was some really good stuff there. That's, I think, what bothers me about some of these songs, like the Monolith, or some of the songs that just don't feel like they go anywhere. And some of the looping, is that the foundation is so strong. You start that record off with Dry the Rain, And like that is a very, very strong start to any record.
Yes.
And
yes.
And to me, I feel like a lot of these other tracks just kind of fall apart. And it's disappointing listening to it because it is so good and you know there is such talent behind it. To hear it fall apart is just a little disheartening. But again, I don't want to leave people thinking, oh my God, the Beta Band sucks, because like a year later they put out their first full length, and a lot of these things that I'm complaining about are refined really well. After I'd listened to the 3 EPs, I was like, oh God. And then I thought, well, maybe I should listen to the next record just to like clear my palate a little bit. And the opening track is called the Beta Band Rap. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, here we go. Here we go again. Here we freaking go again. And I decided to put it on. And you know what? The rap's a little cheesy. It's about how they all met and like got together and formed a band. But it's a lot better than the style and stuff that they produced on the 3 EPs. So the stuff I'm complaining about, first of all, we have a lot of hindsight because this is the 90s nostalgia. Like we're in 2023 now. We've got a lot of years behind us. So they did put out more records. So I can say, I think the next record is a bit of a step up from the 3 EPs, in my opinion. What do you think? You didn't listen to the Beta Band this week, did you? Or was it just 3 EPs?
Just 3 EPs. Okay. And one of the listens was, again, 2/3 of this record is recorded at home. And I thought it might have been my headphones at one point. And I went and I put it on the speakers, and that's kind of when I started doing some digging, because I was like, I think this was recorded on a 4-track. And I couldn't find out which one it was recorded on. I wanted to look at some of
the gear and whatnot.
Yeah. It's not really there. Those guys were not necessarily into that. You know, it was about them making something happen at the time. And I think all of them just kept moving forward, you know, and so long as they were able to move forward as a unit, that was cool. But I think the wheels kind of fell off the band. And see what, when did you say the Beta Band's debut came out? It was like 2001? Like fall of 2001, I think.
It was 99. The Beta Band record was 99.
No way.
Yeah, it was a year after 3 EPs came out. But 3 EPs, you know, they'd been working on that since before, you know, 97, I think.
No, we didn't get an American release until 99, January of 99 or thereabouts.
Yeah, the UK, it doesn't say the date. Hold on, let me pull that up real quick.
So the Beta Band made it out in the summer of 99.
Released June 21st, 99. That's probably just in the UK. I don't know when it came out in the US.
Probably just afterwards. Nope. It was out that summer.
Oh, here we go. Wait. Yeah, June 21st, 99, by Astroworks in the United States on 29th of June. So just a couple days later.
Yeah, see, they would have had some music out by the time High Fidelity came out, I think.
Yeah.
In American stores. And they probably sold more records because of that.
Yeah, I think I read that their sales quadrupled.
The thing is that we had our own underground hip hop going on at around that time. You know, and some of it was based in New York. Yeah, some of it was in LA. Some of it was in the Midwest. And a lot of these elements were, you know, being played with, like, seriously, you know. It wasn't cheeky, as they say, but serious, you know. And they just can't come over here and try and sell that. I mean, not well. I mean, Beck would stomp all over them. To say nothing of House of Pain. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the Brian Jonestown Massacre was incredibly popular at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
And I mistake Brian Jonestown Massacre songs for Beatles and Stones bits all the time. The thing is, he was going out there and just singing his heart out. That is Anton Newcomb.
Yeah.
Brian Jonestown. I think Steve Mason's singing is, you know, adequate, heartfelt. I don't think there's much artifice there. And that's the real meat and potatoes of their vocals.
Yeah.
And he has, like, stayed in the game. I mean, I know he has stayed in the game, and the guitarist has kept at it. It seems like he's got a good attitude. Just as far as always trying to do something different, you know? I mean, they all sound like really cool guys. It seems like in the UK, at least, there were a lot of 90s acts that were just too nice to go on. You know, and they called it quits. Because I'll bet you these guys could have milked one label after another for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, probably. Well, one of them made it into directing. Directed a couple of their music videos, and then did a short film with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I like hearing about musicians that become directors or vice versa. It's usually musicians becoming directors, but there's a lot of
what I intended to do but did not do was check out some of their live shows.
I intended to do that as well.
From what I have read, people thought very highly of them. And they put a great deal of effort into making their live shows look good. They had screens, they had costumes, and people rave about these shows. Which surprised me. That they had such a powerful presence on stage, you know. But if at the bottom what they've got is songs, that's what people are going to, you know, pay money.
Well,
go and listen to.
And those were the parts of the records that I found to be the strongest was the actual songs.
What I gathered from some of the interviews is they really lost their experimental edge. And when I had said that they had like shot themselves in the foot or something, I think I had heard about them getting poppier and poppier and sort of petering off.
Honestly, if you
that does not apply to the Beta Band, their actual album, but I think it's later on.
Well,
around 2004.
If you just listen to 3 EPs and then you tell me that their experimental edge peters off, that's me saying, okay, what do they do now? I don't know. I'm sure that was the jumping off point, or the exit point, I guess, for individual members to do their own things or whatever. But man, some of this experimental stuff in the first record, I did not care for at all. It was
it was
rough. It was rough.
That stuff was out there. Man.
Well, let's finish this up. It's just about 7:00. Was there anything on this record that you're gonna re-listen to? I think I've spouted mine off about 1,000,000 times on this record alone.
I'm probably gonna go and pick this record up, man.
Really? Okay.
It's pretty good. I would like to listen to their first record.
Yeah.
They weren't entirely happy with it, and something tells me that's real. Like, see, the chief complaint there is they didn't get to. One guy says they weren't able to finish what they really wanted to do with that, and I'm like, okay, that's perfect.
On the Beta Band record or 3 EPs? Okay.
It's the one with, like, there's a creek and maybe a starscape and a mountain in the background.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds interesting. They made a couple more after that, and went their separate ways. I don't think I'm interested in following them all the way to the end.
Yeah, same.
But
I will check out King Biscuit Time, though. That sounds fun. Steve, singer, what is it? Steve Mason. Sorry.
Steve Mason sings well.
Yeah.
But he's a savage guitarist. On top of it, he can play. Not the lead guy. He's good too, but the acoustic on that record, I think, carries. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those songs were just built on him laying down the acoustic.
Yeah.
Which is commendable. I mean, they were doing this on a 4-track. You know, they had to commit to certain takes, or at least get like a scratch track down there.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen where you go over a bit and you're just like, well, that wasn't originally part of the song, but man, it sounds good. We ought to leave it, you know? I think that happened a bit. But like, and I mean, I know some guys left early on. I don't know how integral seems like, I don't know what the bassist's deal is, but I was impressed with the recording of his bass. I was impressed with his playing. I thought that the drumming, when there was drumming, was phenomenal. You know, for just some guy going off in a room. There's just a lot of moments where, like, it's not captured in the best possible light, but like, people are just hitting all-time highs of musicianship, you know? I mean, at least for them, you know? I think they had a lot of fun working on this, and it shows. But yeah, they faced some challenges. I mean, technologically, or just like the limits of what their abilities were at the time, you know?
Yeah. Well, so you said you're going to go
pick up. To be fair, there were a lot of records back then that were just I'm not going to say they'd stick out like sore thumbs, but mistakes. You could hear splices and stuff like that. I mean, some people are really good at picking that stuff out, and I think with a lot of the electronic music that came before the Beta Band, depending on how they were recording it, they had to do it by hand, you know, inch by inch, and it was tough. Mistakes were made.
So what was your favorite track from this EP?
I mean, probably
this record?
Monolith, man. I mean, I think I listened to this, and it's kind of like if I had lived in the UK at the time and could have gotten these things when they came out, those three little EPs would have told this story of a band that could put together some songs and got a 4-track, and they made this they put their best song on it, and they just kept trying to make more songs. And they were like, we've had it with this 4-track, we're going to go out and try a different studio. We're going to get an upright bass and some other instruments in here. You know, there's a progression to it, and it does get a little, it gets a little gnarly, man, but you would, sometimes artists would just throw the gnarls in there just to jerk you around a little, whether you liked it or not. And sometimes it was 15 seconds. Sometimes it was 15 minutes.
Unfortunately, this was a 15-minute one.
It's not for everybody, but I mean,
No.
when you're talking about the context, and especially like when it's like, oh, these 4 dudes are trying to do folk hip hop in Scotland. It's like,
Yeah.
Man, again, at the time, it was too poppy and didn't get tripped out enough, if you had asked me then.
Well,
but they kept it clean. I mean, they never got scary, and they never got downright abrasive. I mean, they weren't trying to offend anyone.
Right. Yeah. I don't think anything is out of the way offensive. It's just poorly constructed in my opinion. Poorly constructed, I think, is my final verdict on that. Well, hey, I appreciate you being here for this.
Thanks for having me.
I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed it a lot more when I listened to the Beta Band full length record. So just that's I know you didn't dive into too much. That's my recommendation for you and everybody else. I'm gonna go check out King Biscuit Time. I think a little.
Buy
bit
3 EPs. Buy 3 EPs, ladies and gentlemen.
Ryan, you go buy
3
EPs. Everybody else,
EPs. Give 2 to your friends.
Everybody else, just go listen to the Beta Band record. I'm just kidding. No, Dry the Rain is a great song. I still think that's the standout on that record. But anyways, thanks again, Ryan. We'll be back next week
My pleasure.
at our regularly scheduled Wednesday time, barring any emergencies or anything like that. But yeah, so we'll see you again next week.
Sounds good.
All right, you have a good
night,
rest
dude.
of your night. Bye.
Peace out.
All right, everybody. That was Ryan, and that was the Beta Band, the 3 EPs. I forgot to tell you guys about something super important, and it's actually like devastatingly important. If you are a fan of this show, this channel, this network, the networks, we're a part of the networks. No, we're not. We're a part of the YouTube network. If you are enjoying any of this, please go check out wilddinosaur.com. It's the best place to support this channel. If you go to the store, check out the t-shirts and sweatshirts and sweaters. There's all kinds of stuff. There's hoodies, zip-ups, pullovers, tote bags, and stickers and all kinds of stuff. Go check that out and purchase some stuff, and let me know about it. If you buy a shirt, take a picture of yourself wearing your shirt out in public somewhere, and post it up in let's say Instagram stories, and you tag me in it, I'll send you some stickers. I made these sticker packs last year. I still have a ton of them. I'm just saying. Nobody's reached out for them. But if you buy something, I'll, reach out and send you some stickers. So anyways, the other thing, well, hold on. Before I get to all of this editing stuff, don't forget to come back on Wednesday. It's going to be a special episode. I got my friend Jay coming, and we don't know what we're talking about yet, but you know what? There's a lot of people that watch this channel that are into Star Wars. So we might talk some Star Wars, we might talk some Marvel, we might talk some other stuff going on. Jay's a real cool cat, and super knowledgeable about stuff, music and content, movies, TV shows, books, stuff like that. So we'll rack his brain about some stuff, and we'll see what's going on. I got a busy next couple of days. I got to drive around a lot. But yeah, come back Wednesday, because we're gonna mess around. Jay and I are gonna have some fun talking about some maybe Star Wars rumors, because I don't get into Star Wars rumors a lot, and Jay has been paying attention to more of that stuff than I have. So maybe we can talk about the future of Star Wars and what's maybe in store. So anyways, wilddinosaur.com, like I was saying before. And the last thing I'd like to have you guys do is, if you are a fan of healthcare, if you're a fan of family planning, reproductive health, all that good stuff, all the stuff that like basically all humans do and experience, and you live in the United States, maybe check out the description in the link. There's the link in the description. The link in the description. It is for Planned Parenthood. I think it's a fine place to donate your money to. They do a lot of great stuff, and I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm fanboying for Planned Parenthood. Go get your ding dong checked out, or your woohoo. Whatever it is you need looked at. You need some condoms for hot air balloon competition. They usually have them right there in the lobby. Go grab some handfuls or whatever, and practice safe hot air ballooning. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. I need to eat, and I need to just take care of my life before the next couple days get real busy. Anyways, go buy some stuff from wilddinosaur.com, and I will see you on Wednesday. Have a good evening. Whoops, that's the wrong fader. There we go. Have a good evening. Bye.